Alright, a couple of students have asked for video for Lab 6, question 4, 5, and 6, so this is question number 4. And here we're working on the gross method and the net method of recording sales. And so the gross method is assuming that all of your customers do not take the advantage of the discount that's available. And the net method is assuming that all of them do. So of course then when an exception occurs and either the customer doesn't pay during the discount period under the gross method, or they do exceed the number of discount days under the net method, then of course you have to record the exceptions differently than what they actually pay within the discount period. So the gross method, you assume they don't take the discount and then record the discount when they do. The net method, you assume they do take the discount and then record the discount forfeited when they don't pay within the discount time period. So here we have a situation where we're selling automobile tires, and the terms of the sale are 1% 10 net 30, which means they get a 1% discount. Yours may vary, and so a couple of things happened. On July the 13th they sold 2,000 tires, so we need to record those sales, and they're using the perpetual inventory system, so we also record the cost of goods sold at the time of sale. And then of course there's a return of some defective tires. The tires are not returned to inventory, so we don't need to make any adjustment to inventory there. We just leave them in the cost of goods sold because they're defective tires. And then of course they pay the bill, and there are 4 different assumptions with the gross method within the discount period, the gross method outside the discount period, net method within the discount period, and net method without or outside the discount period. So we start with the first entry, which is on the 13th of July. So you can do 13-7 if you like. Whoops, something happened there. So 13th of July, we record the accounts receivable, and the amount of the sale here is given as 2,000 tires at $90 each. So 2,000 times 90, 180 grand. Well, that's a lot of money for tires. Okay, and then of course that's the sales on the other side. And because we're using, whoops, that's not the one I wanted. SAL, down 1, down, there we go, sales. We want to record the entire sales at the entire gross amount without regard for the discount. So just write record sales if you like, whatever you want to put in there. Lyrics requires something in there, or docu marks, but it doesn't really care what you put in there. So then the next thing is the same date. So I can just drag that down, 13th of July. That's the cost of goods sold entry. And the cost of goods sold is 2,000 tires. And it tells us right up here the cost of the tires is $72. So 144,000. And that is also the inventory reduction. So record cost on sales, whatever you like. And then the next thing is they receive returns of 40 defective tires on the 17th of July. So that's 17/7, and so we get some tires back, which means the accounts receivable are no longer receivable. So we're going to reduce the accounts receivable by the amount of 40 tires at $90 each, so $3,600. Of course that means that the sales are reduced as well, but because we want to track the sales returns separately, we're looking for sales returns and allowances. And this is to record. They told us when I was in school that you should start all of your journal entry descriptions with the word to, as shown here. We're not quite as antsy about that as we used to be, because most of the journal entries are just recorded by computer systems, but this basically is the purpose for the journal entry, and any memo fields and that sort of thing get entered in the journal entry. To record returns, you might want to put defective returns, and then of course it says all of that's the information up here, and then it says prepare the journal entries to record the sale return, and the payment on July the 19th. And of course we have to interpret the sale on the 19th to be within 10 days of the 13th, which means that it's paid before the discount date, so they earned the discount. So let's start with cash. We get some cash back. We're going to have to add a line here because we want sales discounts to be shown there. and we want to reduce the accounts receivable. Alright, the accounts receivable is going to be reduced by 180,000 minus the 3,600 returns. So that's how much accounts receivable goes down. They basically pay the whole thing. And if we drag this over here, they get a 1% discount for that. So put a bracket in front and a bracket behind, and then multiply it by point, I guess 1 minus 0.01 would work. It's basically 99% that they have to pay, and the sales discount is going to be the same number, bracket in front, bracket behind, and then that's the 0.01, the 1% discount. And then of course make sure you put a description here to, I don't know, to paid before discount. Okay, so that's the first one. And then the second one, the only difference is that they make the payment on August the 9th. And so this date is going to be the 9th of August, which is like that. And everything is just going to be the same except that very last entry. So we can just drag everything down if you like, or you can retype it if you like. That also works. Actually, let me press pause. Okay, I dragged all the relevant pieces down. I didn't drag the amount of the cash because that's just going to be equal to the accounts receivable because they don't get the discount. And of course then my description is going to be incorrect. That wouldn't matter. You could miss this one and Lyrics wouldn't care because Lyrics isn't actually interpreting what you put in there. It just requires that something be in there. So the difference is, well, I guess first of all of the entries are the same because you're using the gross method of accounting and you need to wait until your customer tells you whether they pay within the discount period or not. If they didn't pay within the discount period, as they did not in this case, they pay the entire amount of the accounts receivable. They get no discount. And under the gross method, you set up the accounts receivable as if they wouldn't, and so no surprise, they didn't pay within the discount period. We're good. So now, the next question is, we're assuming that the net method of accounting for cash discounts is used. So in this case, when we set up the sale, we record the accounts receivable at the net amount and assume that all the customers are actually going to pay on time. So the date of the first transaction is the same. The date of the second transaction is the same. The entire second transaction is actually, whoops, go away. The entire second transaction is actually the same, if I can get it to move, because the gross and net method don't make any difference to the cost of goods sold part of the entry. So all of that stays the same. However, the first entry is a little bit different. The accounts are the same, and we are recording the sales just as we were before. But now, instead of 180,000, we're assuming that they're going to take the discount. So we need to record the discount as if it's going to be taken. So 178,200 is the amount of the discount. Alright, third entry, the defective returns. We'll still have sales returns and allowances, and we'll still have the accounts receivable going down, and we'll still have the same description. But as with the sales entry, when they return the defective goods, the amount of the sale needs to be reduced by the fact, because of the fact that we've assumed they're going to take the discount. So it's only 35.64. And then we kind of work our way back up here, because we once again we're assuming the 19th of July. So the 19th of July is the day of the transaction, and so that's within the discount period. So you get cash, and the accounts receivable goes down, but the amount is just the net amount of the accounts receivable. So if I take that and drag it down here, and of course we had the return, So you have to subtract that, 3564. But the amount of cash is exactly the same as the accounts receivable deduction under the net method. So they took the discount. We were expecting them to take the discount before discount period. Something like that. All right. Now, the last entry. Once again, all of the entries up till the payment are all the same. So once again, I'll push pause and drag them down. Okay, so I'm back. Now, it's a good thing you didn't wait, because I wasn't very efficient with the dragging thing. So the last entry is going to be different because the amount of cash we're going to receive is actually going to be different because the date is different. August the 9th is the date. So 9/8. There is no 78th month. No, I didn't like that. There we go. We're of course going to get some cash. Accounts receivable is going to go down. But we're also going to record an entry to recognize the fact that they didn't pay within the time frame allowed for the discount, and that's sales discounts forfeited. And so the amount of accounts receivable is just going to be the same amount. It's going to go down by the full 174,636, but they're going to have to pay us for the discount. So they're going to have to pay us for the full 178,200. Whoops, that's actually the wrong number. They're going to have to pay us the same as they had to pay us up here, 176,400. That's the number that they're going to have to pay us. So the amount of cash we get is the same. Excuse me. But the difference between those two numbers will be the amount of the discounted payment, the non-discounted payment rather. 174,636, like that. You could also take this as 1% of that number, you can obviously see, and the entry should be to record paid after discount, or something like that. Okay, so not quite sure what's going on up here. Okay, so I think we've got everything clean, looks good. Let's see what lyrics thought. Lyrics agrees, full marks, we're done.